You can't come over here, Johnny come lately, go to work, send the paycheck
Mm-mm.
home, 3 weeks later come back. What's for dinner?
Mm-hmm.
Really? Really?
Right.
You really don't have
There's
relationship,
just
and
let's
Right.
just
yeah,
cohabitate, which is not healthy.
Right.
Because the minute something goes wrong, I want to be a healthy relationship. An intentional commitment has to be there. You got to go out of your way many times to
Right.
make the relationship do what it needs to do.
And ladies and gentlemen, I know that we're having a lot of technical difficulties. I can't. I'm trying everything I possibly can to make sure that this
Yeah,
is
we
uh,
out of control.
fluid. But but I am recording this, so I'll just upload it later. The recorded version should be smoother, so I'll upload it later. Um, so yeah, let's get into this next. Well, before we do that, let's holler at some of our friends behind their back and
Okay.
get some of this.
mhm.
Get some of yeah. Let's do that first. All right, y'all.
And now a word from our sponsors.
All right, y'all. If you haven't taken the opportunity to hang out on the corner of Natural Bridge and Jenner Station Road for some really good fish and seafood, get by the fish house and sample that awesome menu. Tell Tammy and Jerry that the good folks at CrossTalk sent you. You probably won't get any free food, but you'll get some good food. And make sure you slide in Made by God's DM and order you a few Made by God shirts from Brother Stewart. You can find him on Instagram at madebygod_dot_. That's my brother. And my sister, Creative Gift Giving Made Easy, Baskets by Stephanie. You haven't given a gift if it wasn't with Baskets by Stephanie. Connect with her on Instagram and Facebook at Baskets by Stephanie. Email her at info@giftbasketsbystephanie.com. And get your hair a hair vacation. Hit up Hair Bay at Hair2Real on Instagram and Hair Bay 27 on TikTok. And if you want some of the best flavored pickles, get at Pressure Pickles for the best flavored pickles. Holla at Sharonda Clark on Facebook and get the bag. And helping you find the property of your dreams, that's Paula M. Walker, real estate sales agent with St. Louis Metro Realtors. You can email her at agent_walker03@hotmail.com. If you can't get Janelle's dick, connect your womanism with Empress Beauty Inc. They'll get you set up right. Classic French tips, style sets, and custom sets, they got it all. And enhancing your business, enhancing your peace of mind one thing at a time. That's Going Out Dusting LLC for pricing and booking your professional home and commercial cleaning. Email goingoutdusting@gmail.com. Call 636-290-6904. Visit goingoutdustingcleaning.com or follow going_out_dusting on Instagram. Reading is fundamental, and I don't know what that is in the background, but it sounds like somebody washing their hands or something. But pick up your books, your bishop's books. He that hath an ear, anywhere you can download ebooks, or Stair Steps to Answer Prayers. That's at www.stairstepstoanswerprayers.com. And you can pick that up anywhere you can download ebooks. And Elaine Ragland, Manifestations and Unconscious Relationships by Elaine Ragland, aka Thelma Coleman. And if you like good music, I know a guy, Gabriel. The newest single from Gabriel is called God's Big Family. Lord knows. You can get that anywhere you can download or stream music. Go get it. I was gonna say go get it now, but go get it after we are done here. And are you ready to record your single or album? Email Incredible Music Group at incrediblemusic2@gmail.com for pricing and availability. And I got my hair cut a few weeks ago at Resilience Hair Design LLC. It's located in South St. Louis, 2903 South Jefferson Avenue, 63118. We color grays, do braids, waves, and fades. Holla at Denise. But yes, y'all. We doing our best, y'all. The internet, y'all. Just trying to mess, y'all.
And that's all I have to say about that.
All right.
I need to
And
let
we
me spoke right here. It, a few weeks ago, T. Denise won a book, and I saw her at Hopewell, and I had it, and she didn't come back
Okay, T.
yet.
Denise.
So
ooh.
I just want to put that out there. I brought it. You didn't come
Okay,
back
T.
yet.
Denise. Tracy.
All right. Tracy, Denise,
AKA.
tisk. All right.
Come by Lenny Baptist.
All right, y'all. We got one more thing. We got this game that we like to play. It's called Are You
Go.
This is my favorite game in the whole wide world.
I've been waiting all day.
This is like literally a dream come true. Yeah, married to this song.
Stay in school, kids.
What did you say?
That's the weirdest thing. I'm saying weird.
All right, y'all. We asked 100 Baptist church members, what's the part of service? What part of the service is the part we all can play a part in?
That's a good one.
What part of the service is the part we can all play a part in?
Oh, we ain't gonna see the
Let's
answer.
see who's going to answer
Do
it.
you see the answers?
Let's
Now
see
we got to the
who's
point
going
where
to answer
everybody
it.
can participate.
Right.
Yeah,
Can you see it?
who will get it? Huh? No, I didn't see anybody answer yet. Let's see. Let's hope that did it. All right. We having some. Am I still on?
But they wait many times to make the relationship.
Yeah, we on. Let's see. Who gonna answer this question? What is the part that everybody?
Somebody answered. I don't know if she said, can you see it? Somebody must have answered. Oh.
Could play a part in.
Right.
Praise God. Pamela Smith says, praise God. That is not the right answer, but it is a
That's
good
it.
answer.
And you can't put your finger up.
Unfortunately, got to give you a buzzer on that one.
An offering.
And a tithes
Oftentimes.
and offering. That would also be an acceptable answer as well. All right, y'all. Oftentimes,
You stay ready.
tithes and offering. All right, y'all. Y'all ready to get into the second one? All right, that's what I was waiting for. Let's get the boxing bell in there.
Okay.
Second question. This one is called accountability and authority. Bishop, first question. Who has the permission to check your blind spots? Who has
Elaborate on that a little
permission
bit, my
to check
pastor,
your blind spots?
if you will.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
As the sermon said, can you stand to
Who
be
can
checked?
check you?
Yeah.
Remember that
I
vision?
think that's
Who has permission to check you?
I think
Yeah,
that comes down to what
who has permission to check you? And the blind, as far as my bad. When I say blind spots, a lot of us have these areas in our lives that we don't see, that we are coming short at,
Other folks.
and a
Okay.
lot of times
Okay.
it's easier to see. I don't want to say that, but you get what I'm saying. it's easier to have someone to check you on your blind spots because they are your blind spots.
Well,
If you could see
wow,
those areas, they
that's
would be
kind
called
of
blind spots. But
touchy. Yeah,
Bishop,
it's.
who has
I'm
permission to
trying to
check your
see it from
blind
the.
spots? And this theme,
Well, I guess to look at it from
this
that
is basically
perspective, if
about
someone's going
covering
to
you.
cover you, they have to have something, some means to cover you with, and they have to be in a position to have something, and they have to be trustworthy, and that comes from
Hmm.
tried and trusted. I'm not talking about this is just somebody that just walked up the other day, and start reading your wrongs.
Hmm.
You know, I think that comes with time, and to know, to have a certainty that that individual is looking out for your
Hmm.
better benefit and not trying to trip you.
Right. Like, and Bishop, that's that is that is very key because that goes into the
Amen.
Mm,
the
Yeah,
characteristics or the traits
yeah,
of a good leader. Someone that's not out to
that's
look
right.
to
That's
beat
right.
you with what you're suffering with, but to point out what you're what you're. Hey, this is and that accountability. That accountability is a part of
Yeah,
covering.
yeah.
That
yeah,
accountability is hey you between like and I'm just saying this just
The
I'm not
privilege.
but
Yeah.
between you and me, hey, you coming up, you
Hmm.
tripping,
Hmm.
you tripping, and not everybody
And
should
I
have
think,
that permission,
well, I was
that
kind of
yeah, that
not
privilege and
looking at it
permission
from the
to do that.
leadership
You
fellowship
need to
role.
have somebody
I,
that
I
God
was I,
has
I was
placed
more
over
looking at
you
this as
to do that.
contemporaries. When you say who has the right, I wasn't looking at it from a leadership position as per se to say, okay, my pastor has the right to check my
Hmm.
blind spots, my the person who is leading me. I was not looking at it from that perspective as far as a leader. When we said who has the right to kind of check you, I was talking about contemporaries. That's what I was more dealing with. Friends.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, but but and what you went into that still tied into leadership. I
Hmm.
mean, you don't want somebody that a leader that's going to spill your business out. You need somebody that's going to be able to say, "Hey, as someone who is accountable to you,
hmm, hmm,
these are the areas that that I see that God has allowed me to see that that you need to work on." And I'm not
Hmm.
saying that because you're out here alone. So, because some of these areas may look identical to the ones that I'm dealing with,
amen.
but God has
Um,
placed leadership, people
And then
in
there has to
authoritative
be that
position,
question answered.
uh,
Okay,
and they
why are
are
you telling me
held.
this?
Let me say, we are held accountable
Why are
to
you
God for your
showing me
well-being.
this? What's your reason? What's your aim, your ambition, and your purpose? It may be a Judas, maybe a
maybe
Judas case.
jealousy.
Hmm.
Uh, and that you raised a really good
Hmm.
point, Bishop. I think when you think
Right.
about a relationship,
And we
husbands and
yeah,
wives can cover each other. I look at your dad and your mom,
right.
how your dad covered your mom when her health
That
was failing. Your mom covers your dad when he's going through things dealing with the church. She is able. She knows him better than
hmm
any of us. She can be the one to say, "Babe," and she calls him so sweetly, "Babe, did you think about doing this? Or maybe you need to consider this." And it's all in the way that we do it.
hmm
She's trusted, she's tried, she's true, all those things, all those characteristics that Bishop has spoken of previously. And we may have a confidant who knows us well enough to be able to say that to us, and we don't get offended by it. And we take it for what it's worth because they're faithful. They're tried, they're true, they're trustworthy. They have your best interests at heart. And they're just not saying something, perhaps. I mean, 48 years they've
Mm-hmm.
been together. That's
Right.
monumental. He knows her, she knows him.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Right.
And just and just
How we
just
Relationship.
live,
so
our
we're
family
on the
members
same
and
page throughout
friends.
this episode. All of it has to do with um, whether or not I have to go to I have to belong to a church. Okay. Yeah. Do I need to be a part of a church to, do I have to be a part of a church, or why can't I just not do this? And this is part
Correct.
of the thing. I mean,
Mhm.
who has permission to check your blind spots? Think of it as like a parent. A lot of
Right.
us have kids, but not just
Amen.
anybody has permission to discipline our kids. I don't care whose house you're under. Okay, yeah, you just can't do whatever you want to in their house. You have to abide by the rules of the house that you're
Reprimand.
in. And but when you step out of line,
Hmm.
not anybody has permission to discipline my kids. That word
Right.
discipline not only just means to quote unquote like reprimand, or like we call it beat our kids, but means it also means that that person is under fellowship. That person is now a student. Person is now under their
And look at,
leadership. That's what Jesus was
yeah,
making. He was making
look at the
disciples.
Pharisees.
It's not
The
just, hey, I'm gonna tell
Pharisees
you when you're wrong,
was
but you
followers,
have to
but they weren't
follow me.
believers.
And not everybody has their permission to make my children their followers.
Well, they followed
You know,
Jesus around in that sense.
right? So when you
I
when
think
you go
it's
to a
just from
church,
the
when you
essence
go,
of not followers,
well,
but
they were.
following.
I don't know if you can call
You
them
used to
followers
say they
because
they follow. They keep on following on
Hmm.
me. So Stuart, keep on following on me.
trailers, trailing, filing. But yeah, that it's the it's the is you just can't have and bring that back into the church area. You can go to different churches, but not everybody has the
Because you're
permission
not committed.
to hold you accountable because
Let
I'm
me,
not.
let me ask you:
God hasn't placed you
do
under my
do I
stewardship.
have to be a member of a church to
Right.
not quote unquote so much as check you, but correct you? And I'm not saying when I say you, I'm talking about another individual.
Right. Right. No, you don't have to be a you don't have to be you don't have to and now let me
Okay.
say you don't have to be that person's pastor to tell them that they're not doing right. And it's just it's the it's kind of like the the kids in another household scenario. Hey, we don't do that here. We don't do that here. However, there's an extent to what you will let that person do to me as your son. As your son, there's only a hey you can do so much, but you can't do above what
Hmm.
your authority leaves you for. You know what I'm saying? Like if I go over one of my if I'm a kid and I leave your house and I go to one of my friends' house and I mess up, they can't say, you know what, go in that
Because your
room and
mama,
you better not come out until tomorrow.
uh-huh,
You're gonna have a problem with that. As my parent, you're gonna have a problem with that. That's kind of like
mistake.
kidnapping almost.
Okay.
You can't tell my kid to go in that room and don't come out until tomorrow. What's your problem? What was you thinking? You have a certain level of authority that you can exert, but that
Okay.
yeah,
Okay, you're over at their house and you're acting up, and they say, "Okay, get out."
Mm.
hmm
Okay, I'm putting you out of my house. I'm authorized to
hmm
do that. but not
Mm-hmm.
authorized to tell you to go in that room.
Whew,
Correct.
Okay.
that's a heavy one. So you gonna put me out,
Yeah.
huh? Just
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
Because
because you don't
you're
live
not
here anyway.
acting
because you done broke the
you're
rules.
not acting the way you're not acting the way that I think you ought to act here. So get out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
glad God don't do us that way.
You're not. You're not. Well, look, you're not. You're not following the rules of the house.
And
Right.
There are rules in this house,
there are rules.
and right, there's rules in this house, and if you don't abide by the rules, I mean, I can't ground you.
No,
I can't tell you.
Hmm.
You know that I. So the
you
only
can't
thing that
take
I
the
can do
PlayStation.
as your friend's parent, I'm not your parent. I'm your friend's parent. Uh,
Right.
look. Hey, you can come over when you got a better attitude, but I'm gonna have to ask you to leave.
Okay, I can go with that.
Now, I can't. Now with my kid, I could grab my kid by the collar and shake some sense into him, throw him up against the wall, whatever wall I choose. But I don't see anybody else doing that to my kid.
And we have to be careful doing it to our children too.
Right.
I,
And yeah, you're right.
my children grew up with weapons. My
Right.
children grew up with weapons.
Right. I don't want us. I don't want us to make that sharp right turn into
Right.
parenting. But I'm just saying.
Exactly.
I'm making
Because
an example of what I could do and what I cannot
you
do.
have permission to
What I
do.
have
You
right.
have
What
the
I have
authority to
authority.
do that
Right. What I have
as a parent.
authority to
Yes.
do.
Yes. 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 The friend's parent don't have that authority.
Right.
Um, as we grew up, and maybe a little before your time, before the hotline, children hotline their parents nowadays. That's why I said we have to be mindful
Right. Right.
how we say that. But I
Yeah.
do have authority to do that because I'm
Right.
your parent and I'm responsible. I got
Right.
the authority to check you in your blind spots.
Second question is: can you submit to God without submitting to people, pastors in particular? Can you submit to God without submitting to people? Doc,
I don't. You, okay.
Go
am I
ahead,
clipping?
Bishop.
No, I'm. No, I'm listening.
Well, you know,
Uh,
the angel was placed over the house, your pastor.
Hmm.
And how dare you disrespect, being disobedient to the pastor whom God sent over the house? Obedience brings blessings. And just like Christ said, they ain't doing it to you, they doing it to me. So when we disrespect our pastor, we're being disobedient to God because
Hmm.
God sent him. So you couldn't you almost shooting yourself in the foot just by being disrespectful to the angel of the house. And you're messing with your fellowship. You you don't want your fellowship broken with Christ.
Bishop, what you got?
It's like being off the vine.
well, I think the question kind of gives the written question gives a different connotation as to what is spoken. It doesn't say
Okay.
anything about a pastor submitting or submitting to a pastor. It just says, can a person submit to God without submitting to people? But we are all charged with a degree of submission. Wives, submit yourself unto your husband, submit. And as you say, I've heard you say in some of your sermons, submit. It does not
Hmm.
mean that you are less than anybody. It merely means that submit. I honor when I am sub, it means I'm looking upward. I think we are all charged to a degree of submission.
Amen.
Man, Bishop, wait a minute.
Yeah.
That was I
Yeah.
know you're saying exactly what I was saying, but you are
He's saying
saying it
no.
a different way. Sub
Yeah.
means that I'm looking up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. To submit.
yeah. That is
It
pretty good.
it was pretty good. I was like, watch out, Doc.
Hmm.
Yeah,
But submission. If you break those words down and look at it from an etymological point of view, it is to put yourself or to place yourself beneath. Sub submit the mission. So what is the mission? What is the mission? God's given us pastors, blah blah blah. Therefore and therefore, therefore and therefore. Now, what is a pastor? A pastor, the word pastor comes from the word pasture. Is dealing with shepherding. It's dealing with shepherding. So the mission is, if you love me, feed my sheep. So who's responsible for feeding the sheep? The shepherd.
Who's responsible?
Right, the shepherd.
Okay.
The shepherd is responsible for feeding the sheep. So if the mission is to feed the sheep, then you cannot submit to God without submitting who He's placed in that mission. Because in essence,
And
you're
I have
telling.
no problem with that.
In essence, you're telling.
No, I was saying I have no problem with that.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. I don't.
We're on a delay. We're on a
It's a
delay.
delay. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
It's a big delay too. Yeah, I was saying I had no problem. That is so very true as far all of that you're saying. The only thing I was saying is that in the literary question, the literary of it, there was no allusion to that
Pastor.
leadership pastoral role.
Right.
It said to me, can two people submit to one another without being submitted to God?
Or vice versa.
I was not looking at it, from a leadership role or pastorship role.
Yeah, I mean, and I agree. I agree with you wholeheartedly in that. And that was not a contended spout. It was just saying, hey, this is. I 100% agree with you, and this is also because in what you were saying,
Right.
I didn't see a nah to it because if you look at it from the husband and wife role, wives are supposed to submit to their husbands, like as it pertains to the church and Christ, right?
Right.
And Christ has help me out, brother. Revelations, if I'm wrong, but God has placed these angels, these pastors, in the church to carry out the mission. So what?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right. So when you say, well, I don't need a pastor. I don't need to belong to a church. I don't need to have a pastor. I go to these different. Then you're saying that I don't respect your order.
Basically. Yeah.
That's on you
Right.
because you just can't flop around here or there.
I'm gonna say something that Pastor Herbert Thompson used to say. Am I right about it, Bishop?
You're right about
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. But however, we do have a responsibility to trumpet that, to stand on the wall and to warn them. And as God told Ezekiel, look, watchman, you on the wall.
Yep.
I don't care what they are doing.
Stay
You
on
watch.
Nehemiah.
And if you see the enemy coming,
Blow that shit.
no, I'm talking about Ezekiel. Now you're the watchman on the wall. When you see the enemy coming, sound the trumpet.
Right.
When you see them going when you see them having let their guard down, when you see them not going in a direction that's going to give victory to their life, man, you sound the trumpet. And then if you sound it and they don't respond,
They
then
ignore
the
it.
blood's on their hands.
Right.
They ignore it essentially, yeah. But you gotta, regardless to how they are acting. When Israel, when Moses went up on the mountain to they started dancing and doing all kind of stuff. But Moses still had to stand for them. Boy, Moses, I'm getting ready to kill them.
Come on, Bishop.
I'm going to kill every one of them. But look at the preacher. No,
And,
don't
and
do that.
Bishop,
Don't
check
do
this
that.
out. Check this out. To piggyback off what you're saying, who do you have if you don't have a Moses?
Huh. You
That's
better hear
right.
me.
That's why I said the angel.
And
Got to
I
respect.
say this quite often. There are some things that your Moses can
Oh,
get
come
from
on now.
God
Watch
for you
yourself.
That you can't.
that you can't go directly and get. You can't go. You ain't got no business up on that
Ain't
mountain.
standing.
Hey, look,
And,
Bishop.
and Moses said, I'm telling you,
Hey, Bishop. Look,
you don't want
remember
to go up there.
and that story, and we're gonna move on. But that story, where Moses went to the mountain,
Yeah.
when he came back, he was totally changed physically. His hair,
Lit up.
yeah.
Yep.
He had come in
When-
the presence of the Lord.
But look, when they tried it, they were terrified.
Yes. He tried to
Yeah.
tell them that.
Yeah.
You
Right.
can't stand him.
Yeah.
That's why the bush burned up.
Golly.
Yeah.
That's that's the difference. That's the difference in God. Golly, God breathing on something and blowing on something.
Yeah.
Golly.
Get up out this chair.
Moses felt the breath. They felt the blowing.
Right.
Throw something
Golly.
at you.
That's why we say, breathe on me. Lord, don't
Instead of
blow.
blow on me. Right.
God told Israel,
Life.
yeah.
Because breath
God
brings
told
life.
Israel, because of the way you've been acting, I'm going to blow on everything. And you know what? When you got a spark, if you blow on it, it explodes into a big fire. So I'm going. If I blow on
Oh
what
my
you can bring
God.
all that stuff and put it on the altar that you want to, I'm going to blow
Watch
on it.
out. Watch
Right. And
out.
check this
I
out,
ain't gonna
Bishop.
burn it up.
But check this out. Also with breathing and blowing. Blowing, I can scatter you.
Yeah.
It's,
Yes.
it's like it's the difference between a breeze and a tornado.
Yes. But if I
Absolutely.
breathe
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
you,
Yeah.
I am giving you life. Not only life,
That
but
life
more
and
Breathe
breath.
into you the breath of life.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All of y'all got boys for that, but
Bars. I need to give me a
It'll
lot.
work.
All right, let's play this game real quick. Who got cards? This game right
I
here.
had the course last time.
This game
think
right
I got
here
cards.
is called. Where's my
I
game? Oh,
lost
here you
it
go.
last time.
This game is called.
Pick a card.
It's only a game. Why you have to be mad?
Let me see what I got here.
All right. So yeah, pick a card
I
any
think
game.
that was
Pick a
yeah,
card
that
any
was
card.
that was the last time we played. Then is that when I won the book for
I
Tracy?
think so.
That was some
was-
time ago.
Oh, okay. I mean, you got
That
to
was some
realize
time
it's been
ago.
like 3
Yeah.
weeks now.
I
'Cause
think
we
this
in
was the
school
book.
1 week.
I think. Right. This is the time. This is the time where I was playing against Dr. Ish, and she said, "Well,
Oh,
since you won
okay.
twice,
Okay.
I
we
forgot
got to
who
give
won.
2 books out to it was one. We had to give a book out to the person that lost and my person that won."
Okay. So we got to do something.
I was like, how you gonna tell me how to?
Whatever, my pastor.
You got some cards, Bishop?
I got
Petty
got
Bill.
some right here. I was I didn't think I was going to have to do this, but I got some. Yeah, and this one
Probably stay ready.
it's kind of
Oh,
lengthy.
Lord have mercy.
Yeah, but it merely it's words to live by. Words to live by.
Words to live by.
Words to live by. Yeah, and basically this is what it says.
If you
If you don't like what's going on,
if
stay out.
you-
If you can't stand the heat, get out the
Yeah.
kitchen.
That sounds right.
Yep.
I have to agree
That's
with
it.
you, Pastor.
Mm,
And you didn't even see today.
Somebody had
I
to
got
agree
the first
with
two and the last two. I couldn't get the in between.
you. Right.
If you
Just, you got the alpha and omega. Huh?
I was in the game though. All right.
that,
All right, y'all. Let's get this
that's
last
all
question
you
out the way. This last topic.
need? Okay.
Yes, sir. All right. So the real reason folks float. This is dealing with if you're being planted or just floating along, you're church hopping because the church hurt or whatever. The church hurt, church hopping or healing. Question number 1: did the church hurt you, or did the truth confront you? Did the church hurt you, or did the truth confront you? Bishop, you first on this one.
Okay, well, it's ironic that this is I used a part of this in my message on yesterday. People talk so much about church hurt. Yeah, and certainly, no doubt, all of us at some way or another has had some church hurt. But there are other things that we never mention. What about work hurt?
Work
I
hurt.
ain't quitting.
Did you? Are you quitting? What about family hurt? Are you pulling yourself out of the family?
Relationship hurt. You still
But
gonna
I
get. You
think
still
that,
want to
yeah,
be with somebody.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely. You still want. You're not giving up on it. So I think a lot of it, the most of it thing it has to be is when the church confronts your fallen condition focus. And that's what every sermon is made up of, a FCF, a fallen condition focus. And when someone hits that fallen condition, it can tend to hurt because ringing